Madam Chair, and I want to thank the panel. It's a very impressive group of public servants and military officers. Secretary Wilson, welcome. We're all glad to see you here in your position. And, as I think you always hear this from different senators, like Senator Peters, I look forward to you coming up to Alaska. You'll see that we're the hub of air combat power for the Asia Pacific and the Arctic, and training with Jay Park and the young men and women in the Air Force in my state, as you know, have been very busy. 5 F-22 intercepts of Russian Bear bombers just within the last month. So they're doing a good job protecting American sovereignty and airspace. So thank you for the great leadership all of you are doing with regard to the young men and women who are doing such a great job. You know, we're also the cornerstone of our nation's missile defense up in Alaska. And I wanted to talk a little bit about missile defense and what we can be doing better on that. You know, it's become very clear, and you were talking about the test by North Korea this past weekend, but all the public testimony is it's not a matter of if, but when Kim Jong-un is going to be able to range the United States, not just Alaska and Hawaii, but the lower 48, with an intercontinental ballistic nuclear missile. That's going to happen at some point. He's going to have that capability. And I think that we need to do more to be able to protect the homeland, to be able to say that if you launch 1 or 2 or 3 of these missiles, that we'll have a 99% chance of shooting them down, and then we will massively retaliate against you, which I think will keep even a crazy guy a little bit more sane in terms of trying to do something like that. But I don't think we're there yet, and so I think we need to do more, and I'm going to be introducing a bill that we've been working on for months with some of the experts in Washington and other places on increasing our missile defense capability, and certainly going to look to try and make that a strong bipartisan bill. One element, actually a key element of that bill, relates to the topic that we're talking about here, and that's space and space sensors with regard to our missile defense. And General Goldfein, you articulated well the idea of an integrated and layered defense, but as you know, it's not just Bagram Air Base, it's actually our missile defense that we need to do that. So General Hyten has stated in testimony that, quote, the deployment of a global space-based sensor system with discrimination capability will be a critical component to improving the effectiveness of our deployed missile defense interceptors. That's his testimony. Admiral Searing similarly stated, quote, from a missile defense perspective, we have to develop a future operational space layer. Given where the threat is going with hypersonics and more ICBMs, this persistent tracking and discrimination capability from space is a must for our missile defense. So I'd like to ask the whole panel, maybe General Raymond, starting with you, how would space-based sensors benefit our missile defense system, help with a layered and integrated defense, whether it's GBIs in Alaska or THAAD throughout the world, South Korea, Aegis Ashore, Patriot? How is that important, and would that give us the persistent, unblinking eye and a stronger ability to have layered missile defense, which in my view we need today? We need it today, and we don't have it. How critical is space sensors in that regard?
I think it's very critical. I would agree with the previous testimony that you cited. I think space, if you look at the little handout that we provided and you look at the orbits, space provides persistence. Space provides that unblinking eye. Space provides the ability to discriminate, especially for maneuvering targets. We have a great partnership with MDA. We have, in your state, Senator, we have a missile warning radar. We're in partnership as we speak with MDA to modify that to be a more capable missile defense capability. So we've got a long partnership both on the ground. We have capabilities in space today with our space-based infrared satellites and with our Defense Support Program satellites, DSP and SBIRS, that provide utility to the Missile Defense Agency. But the layer that you talked about, I think, would be important, would give you persistence, field of view, and the ability to discriminate.
Anyone else want to comment on that, General Graves? Or? Yep. Go ahead.
Senator,
I'll just.
I will agree entirely with General Raymond. The Space and Missile Systems Center has been in very close contact with the Missile Defense Agency over the past few years, understanding where we can partner and where space can benefit. Space offers the opportunity, from its vantage point, for the promise of birth-to-death tracking, which aids in the discrimination problem that is at the central core of the efficient use of our interceptors. And we've been working, some of it is classified with MDA, to hopefully jointly determine what would benefit the missile defense mission as well as the space surveillance mission within the Air Force. So that work is ongoing.
Great. Well, I think you'll I'm not going to presume that you'll support this bill, but from the testimony, I think you'll appreciate what we're trying to do here in the Senate. Ms. Chaplin.
Yes, I also oversee our missile defense work. The capability that you're talking about, there's been a requirement for that since the 1990s, and there's been several attempts to actually build that constellation. One issue is it's very expensive to get that capability because it's usually in low Earth orbit and you have to put up more satellites. One issue that's sort of been recurring is
Just to make a point on that, we've been looking at some of the costs, and my view is buying insurance with regard to a nutcase who wants to try to nuke Chicago at some point or threaten to do it, the expense shouldn't be our first priority. Defending the nation should be our first priority. I understand we have the capability to do it, and I think, as you've been talking about, we've been talking about it since the 1990s. This bill is meant to say, let's do it.
Right.
Enough talk. We have a threat. We have a threat, a real threat, right now. A madman possibly could be threatening 300 million people in the next year or two with an intercontinental nuclear ballistic missile. And so I just get a little tired of the discussion about, well, it's going to cost a little bit more. I think the average American would take that insurance policy in a heartbeat to say, we have a 99% chance of shooting down a missile, when right now we don't. And the number that, I don't know exactly what you believe the number is in terms of our chances, but we need to up the chances and the probability of being ready to take out any threat that this guy daily threatens our country with. And we shouldn't take those threats lightly.
I think, given the expense, though, you can maximize that satellite's use by bringing in other requirements. One up for discussion is space situational awareness. If the same satellite can serve different communities, it helps you be able to pay for that mission even more.
And we're working very closely with the Missile Defense Agency towards that end.
Great. Madam Secretary, any comments on that?
Senator, I would just say one thing. You've highlighted the need to do more. All of these things and other missions for the Air Force, we're not going to be able to meet the needs of the nation unless we figure out a way to get beyond the Budget Control Act. And that's going to require a lot of work between the Congress and the administration to figure that out.
Thank you.